can you celebrate yourselves? Celebrate yourselves. Tell yourself, I'm glad to be here. Are you glad to be here? Are you excited? All right. Please, can you come forward a little bit? Please, kindly come forward so that when people come, they don't disrupt the event. Please move forward. Thank you very much. So this is a community event, and it's breaking barriers and unlocking communication in neurodivergent children. We all hope that after leaving this event, you'll be greatly blessed. Thank you so very much for your time. We sincerely appreciate you. Safeguarding rules here. So in case you want to use the toilet, if you go out to your right-hand side, you'll see the toilet for the female, for the ladies. That's for the ladies, for the men, and for the children, and for people who need special needs, please. The toilet is there, it's available for you. And please feel free to have your refreshment anytime during the event. It's just right behind you there. So we have lots of refreshment for you. And then for your fire exits, you all know, that's it. We have one here, but we know that we'll not have any issue during this event. Thank you very much. And please, if you have any problem taking your pictures, in case you don't want us to take your pictures, please, you can signify. Just tell one of the media team behind there. If you do not want your pictures to be taken or your videos, please kindly signify now and let the media people know before we start this event, because it's live. So you all going to be the language desk and the health check desk will event. The networking continues. So please do not be in a hurry to leave this event. All right. Thank you so very much. And if there's any issue at all, please kindly contact the people wearing blue. You see them outside there. In case you have any issue, please kindly contact them during this event. Please kindly contact them during this event. Okay, so those are the safeguarding rules that we have for you today. So the video presentation. So media, are you ready for us? Video presentation, please.
Communication in itself is a journey. And because your child might not be verbal doesn't mean that they're not constantly trying to speak to you. Sometimes we put so much emphasis on speech that we miss out on every other type of communication that happens along the way.
Speaking is not a barrier to living a functional life.
It's totally not part of who they are. I mean, for those of us here that actually believe in something, different or something strong, there is the truth about the child that is still there, and that's not disputed at all.
Can be highly frustrating, and it's always about giving a child a voice.
Any professional is speaking negative about your child, I don't care how good they are, run, because words are spirit and they cast on your children.
Thank you very much. we'll be showing this video again. Media, please help us.
Communication in itself is a journey. Because your child might not be verbal doesn't mean that they're not constantly trying to speak to you. Sometimes we put so much emphasis on speech that we miss out on every other type of communication that happens along the way.
Speaking is not a barrier to living a functional life. Communication is a barrier to living a
But communication in itself
as open as possible to whatever means of communication that our children are going to use.
We can get flashcards. Flashcards are excellent. We can get flashcards. Flashcards are excellent tools because all we need first is for them to be able to identify an emotion.
I have seen firsthand that the system has failed and the system is still failing. It's still failing so many of our amazing children. So, whether it's in education, in healthcare, or community inclusion, don't leave it at the mercy of the government.
Diagnosis on itself, it doesn't actually define who the children become. It's not stuck on their forehead. It's not part of who they are. I mean, for those of us here that actually believe in something, different or something strong,
Highly frustrating, and it's always about giving a child a voice.
Thank you very much. For our keynote speaker now, please make welcome Mrs. Temilolu Awofala. Please let's appreciate her. Thank you so very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real honor and pleasure to be here today. I thought my bio would have been shown, but just to give an idea, okay. Okay. Yeah, so that's who I am. You can read it. But the context for my being here today is because I work in the corporate environment. I work in financial sector, but I am also the chair of the Ability Network in my workplace. So that gives me an opportunity to actually become part of a group of people that are raising awareness about certain things in the organization. Can I just check with a show of hands, who here is not a neurodivergent individual? Right, that's great. So I was hoping that I'll see a show of hands. Okay. I mean somebody that is not caring for or is not a parent of someone. All right, okay. So hopefully the context of why I'm asking that question will come out at the end of my talk. So it's, as I said, it's an honor to be here, and just seeing those slides, it's just amazing to see how far Annie and her team have come. I remember when she started this, and it's just amazing to see somebody who is so passionate about a particular topic, using her own experience, sharing her own life experience to make an impact on the community. And she is surrounded by some really good, encouraging people. What she's asked me to talk about today is around allyship. And I was really giving that experience, this thing is too loud, the experience that I'm having in my workplace. So when she asked me about this late last year, we hadn't done our strategy for 2026 at work in terms of what we are going to be doing for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And lo and behold, when we had our strategy meeting in January, we were told that one of the main areas that we were going to be looking at as part of the various networks in the organization is allyship. So I'm part of one of 6 networks. So when you think about diversity, you think about gender, you think about multicultural, you think about the pride, and my area, which is ability, and all the others. And these are marginalized groups. And even though we are volunteers at work, what we are trying to do is to raise awareness. And what the organization was seeing was that despite the fact that you have these thriving networks, we are not necessarily having the right impact on our colleagues. People are not seeing the impact of having those networks. So, for instance, me being part of the Ability Network, people are not coming forward. People are about their disabilities. People are not willing to share. They're not trusting the organization, that the organization is doing enough for them to thrive, and they feel that they're being marginalized. So even though we have that corporate strategy, to be honest with you, we haven't really started doing much. So this has actually given me the push to start thinking about what am I going to enforce, or what am I looking to implement as part of the Ability Network for allyship in the organization. So that being the theme, I was looking at what is allyship? What do we mean by being an ally? So being an ally means creating a safe and for dialogue, putting ourselves in the shoes of others without judgment or shame. So that means we all have a critical role to play in creating an inclusive environment, not just in the workplace, but in the community. So that's one of the reasons why I was asking who is the carer of, who is not a carer here, because anyone that is in this environment or is looking to help or to support, I see them as an ally. And hopefully by the time we get to the end of this talk, you will agree with me. So allyship means using your position to support or speak up for that marginalized group. We're there to support and work in partnership with others. Your allies are there to break down barriers. They're there to ensure that people have the basic rights that they need and people are not feeling stigmatized or they're not feeling discriminated against. And I know I picked up a clip I picked up one of the ladies saying about don't let your care workers determine what happens to you. And one of the things that allies need to be doing is that they actually need to be working with people who may have problems or who do not have access to certain things. If they use their knowledge, if they use their information, they're able to put people in the right places in front of the right people. But why does allyship matter in a neurodivergent environment? Statistics show that 1 in 4 or 5 people are neurodivergent. And this is not just in the workplace, it's in the society, it doesn't matter the sector. We say that in where I work in the financial sector, we believe that 1 in 5 of us is neurodivergent. So it's the same everywhere, it's universal. So what does that do? Neurodivergent people, they often face barriers because we're in an environment, we're in a culture where people are expected to be neurotypical. So their capability is not necessarily given a chance. So as an ally, we are actually there to bridge the gap between potential and opportunity. When one person is excluded, the whole group loses what they bring. And this is what we say around diversity, diversity of thought. If people are diverse and they bring their knowledge, it does not necessarily mean that they have to be normal, but they do have that knowledge and information as well. We know that these barriers do exist, not just in the workplace, in the community. There's that unconscious bias as well that we all have. So there's that norm that you have to be neurotypical to kind of thrive in the workplace or in the environment. And that should not be the case. We also face all these unwritten social rules. There are those invisible walls that no one explains. Everyone has to be normal. We are expected to follow a typical type of way in order to be accepted in the society. And what happens? As adults, as kids, people then they try to mask themselves. They're trying to perform like neurotypical people, but they can't keep that up for all the time. It becomes exhausting, it becomes unsustainable. So why? Why do we have to marginalize people because of a certain condition that they have? And by doing that, we're overlooking certain talent, because I know a lot of talented neurodivergent people. Actually, I believe that neurodivergent people are more talented than neurotypical because they have hidden skills. And if those skills are tapped into, what you find is that, people thrive. And what we're doing is we're creating an inclusive society and an inclusive community as well. And so what does allyship unlock? It creates a psychological safety environment for neurodivergent individuals. It allows them to contribute fully when they feel that they're in a safe environment to do so. Communication becomes richer when we expand how we share and receive ideas. Everyone has something to give, big or small, everyone has something to add. Innovation, and I have seen some very, very creative neurodivergent people. In the organization where I work, which is, you have a trading environment and you have the information technology environment. Most of the people in those sectors or in those teams are actually neurodivergent. They're the ones who write programs. They're the ones who solve the mathematical problems that we have in the organization. So they do bring a lot. And then when you think about our children, when you see what our children do, I know people in this room whose children are very artistic. They do comics, they draw, they do things. They're actually great on the computer. What are we doing to actually make sure that those talents are seen and they're exploited on? So being an ally also allows us to be loyal. People trust us because when you're an ally, people feel genuine, and it builds deeper commitment and engagement. So what do allies actually do? I see myself as an ally. It's not easy. It's not something that, I was trained to do. Being an ally, you have to be prepared to be vulnerable. You have to be prepared to be brave. You have to accept that you have to be comfortable in an uncomfortable environment as well. You have to be able to necessarily respond. You have to create a space that allows neurodivergent people to communicate and be part of the whole environment. Silence is not acceptable when you're an ally because it's not an option. Because if you're not allowing people who are neurodivergent to thrive and you're not speaking up on their behalf, then basically we're not creating an inclusive society. So what do we have to do? We have to redesign the way we think, the way we operate, to allow for neurodivergent people to be part of what we're doing in the society. So ask yourself, how do you communicate? How do you get people involved? How do you act when people talk to you or when on an answer? Are you marginalizing people? Are you encouraging people? So, and sometimes it's not really the fact that you are in a senior position that makes you an ally. Everybody is an ally. And the benefits of being an ally are that, as I said, I keep on saying, it creates inclusive environments. It builds, if you're one ally in the room allows the entire dynamics to change. For people who feel that they are being unseen, to feel that they are seen. So small, consistent actions, cultural changes over time. It's not a one-time gesture. It's an ongoing thing. It's a daily practice. It's something that you build on. It's something that you it becomes part of your own DNA as well. Because the problem is not the person, it's the environment. And the environment has to change. The environment has to change to allow neurodivergent people to feel being accepted within the organization. As I said, you don't have to have a title, you don't have to be an authority, but how you have to do is you have to be authentic, you have to be involved, and you have to go beyond the norm. You have to be able to break down, to educate yourself. You have to, as I said, feel uncomfortable in a comfortable, where you would normally feel comfortable. You have to arm yourself with necessary tools to make a positive impact. As an ally, you have to be trusted. You have to be somebody that people would feel the need, that see that you're living their life through them. Don't leave it to someone else. And share your story. What I'm doing today is sharing my story to encourage others to either become an ally. Please become an ally. Do what you need to do. Don't look at what others are doing. Of a neurodivergent person, think the way they think. Make sure that they are included in what they're doing. Because when we look at our little ones, what we're doing is we're creating a safe environment for them to thrive, for them to be seen, for them to be heard. And when you have parents who are struggling, as an ally, what you're helping them to do is seek help. All it could take is that you're interpreting a policy. Somebody is reading a policy, they don't understand what their children's rights are. As an ally, why don't you take the opportunity to help them? Read the policy with them, where things are. Signpost them to where things are happening in the environment, in the community. And that's all it takes to be an ally. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So media, can you help us? So the next person I'll be calling on is Mr. Abila. Please, let's appreciate him as he comes up the stage. Let's appreciate him. Media, can we have his bio? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Anxious already, are we? Okay, my presentation is not going to be shared, but I'm going to be talking about anxiety and depression. We all get anxious on a daily basis. It is just like somebody has COPD or anxiety and depression. If they haven't eaten, I know my wife, if the kids haven't eaten in the afternoon or just missed a meal, she gets very worried, So all those kinds of worries is what I'm going to be talking about today. As you can see my bio, my name is Opudo Abila. I'm a registered nurse. I work as a nurse consultant, and I'm the lead for anxiety and depression in a GP surgery within the NHS. I also work for the Priory Group as a physical health lead as well. So, clinically, what is depression? Depression is not just about the way you feel. It's a lot more than that. I've described a lot of the way we feel on a daily basis, And it's not just about that. It's more than just feeling sad because the children couldn't get bread to eat in the morning. Maybe they had cereal, but they wanted bread, and you felt sad about that. It's a lot more than that. It's not just because you're sad because maybe your brother or your sister couldn't visit you for the weekend, or you missed Christmas dinner or something like that. It's a lot more than that. It's a kind of mood disorder that affects your daily life, affects the way you function. And sometimes you may not recognize them. Sometimes you may not actually recognize it. But that's why I'm here to talk to you about it. This is really important because I see a lot of parents and I see a lot of children on a weekly, hundreds of patients on a weekly basis. And some of the children have said to me, not children, they're adults, but they're 18, 19, 20, 22. Some of them have said to me that they've had this for like over 10 years, this anxiety and depression for over 10 years. But their moms and their parents or mom and dad have said to them that, oh, in our culture, we are strong. We never have anxiety. We never have depression. And this is why they've left it for so long, and it's prolonged to a point where the children are no longer able to cope. Some of them have gone to university because they've left it untreated. They could not cope, so they've come back home, and they're just, at home not doing anything, staying in bed, and then not being able to function. So early recognition is very, very important. So how do we recognize this thing? Before I go on to recognition, I'll talk a little bit about anxiety. So depression is about the way you feel. It's about your mood. It's about the way you feel. If you're feeling sad, you're very low in mood, and you're not able to think, you're not able to function, you're not able to concentrate, in the task that you're given. But what then is anxiety? In simple terms, anxiety is just about the way you worry. Fear of coming here today, fear of going to the GP, fear of, doing certain tasks. It's about fear, exercising fear in what you're doing. Now, this is clinically different from the normal day-to-day stress that we, stress of you missed the bus, I couldn't wash my car this weekend, it's still very dirty. It's a lot more than that. It's more than that. And how do we recognize some of these symptoms? How do we recognize that someone has anxiety disorder? These are some of the symptoms. For anxiety, you have persistent, depressed, irritable mood, loss of interest. You lose interest in the things you used to do. Significant fatigue, loss of energy, not able to function, insomnia, and you're not sleeping well. Fatigue, you're not eating well, you're not thinking, you're not concentrating. Something has happened, and because of that, you are at this particular stage. If this continues for more than 2 weeks, then we're talking about depression. And if it continues for more than 6 months, then you would need treatments. I'll talk to you about the treatments. Now, anxiety. How do we know that somebody is having clinical anxiety? You have muscle tension, sleep disturbance. You're not able to. Your heart rate is pumping really hard. You're sweating. You're always, you're avoiding going outside. You're avoiding people. You don't want to be around people. Once you think about a particular task, your heart starts pumping really hard. You're not able to function. These are some of the symptoms. There's quite a lot of symptoms, of anxiety. What causes these problems? A whole lot of things can cause these problems, anxiety and depression. But I'll talk to you about some of them. Sometimes it could be a major life stress. It could be a major event that has happened. For example, you've lost someone you really love. You've lost a parent, a friend, a sister, a brother. That can cause you to become very stressed, and start thinking about death, and lead to anxiety as well. Most commonly, these two, anxiety and depression, sometimes come together as as comorbidities. They come together. Some people have both. Some people can have just one of it. And then sometimes, chronic stress. Sometimes it could be caused by the environment. It could be caused by a colleague who you're not happy to work with. I see a lot of my patients who come in and said, there's somebody at their workplace. They're not just able to work with the person, so therefore they don't feel like going to work, and they're very low in mood. They rather stay at home. They sleep all day and not able to function. And sometimes it changes. For example, you've bought a new home. You have to relocate. All these things can cause a whole lot of stress. There are other factors as well. And sometimes these factors could just be genetic. It mustn't be environmental, or it mustn't be, something that has triggered that. Sometimes it could just be genetic. I've seen a lot of patients as well who they just have no reason or no idea how they've got that, but they have the clinical signs of anxiety. Okay, so if you leave it for too long, what happens? I've talked to you earlier about the children who have grown to 18, 19, 20, and they were told that anxiety and depression does not exist because their families are family of strong people. I see more of this in the African communities where this anxiety and depression is not recognized within the home, and therefore they've built a culture of, we are strong. We can't have anxiety. We can always be resilient in everything, I'm here to tell you today that any human being, anybody can become anxious, can have anxiety, and can have depression. So if you leave it untreated, because of the stress, the chronic stress that comes within you, it will start affecting your heart. It will cause you to have diabetes and a whole lot of other symptoms. The mental impact is also very severe. You won't be able to function, and then there's also the interpersonal impact as well, where you won't be able to function socially and all those type of things. So these are the impacts, but how do we manage these conditions and recognize that there's treatment available? As I'm rounding up, I'll just mention a couple of what we do as clinicians. So the first thing you would do if you recognize those symptoms that I've mentioned, either in your child or either in yourself, if you recognize those symptoms, please visit your GP. That's the first point of call. Book an appointment, visit your GP. There is help available. The earlier you get on top of it, the better the outcome will become, so that you can function. There are a lot of there's CBT, which is provided by psychologists. We can refer you to psychologists for CBT. They will take you through counseling and all that. We also have treatment, pharmacological treatment. If we assess you and we know that for example, we have people who have gone through stress for 1 year, and then, the trigger goes away and they become better. So you can go on medication, and you can then, you can go on medication and you can wind that down later. Some people have been on medication for 10 years, 15 years, it's not a problem. There are also other things you can do. For example, lifestyle changes. You can come out, do exercise, do exercise. You can come out, you can walk the dog, you can eat healthy. And there are all other specialized support as well. So your first step is your GP for clinical consultation, and then you may need medical intervention. Prioritize your health. Make sure that you're looking after yourself. Chronic depression and anxiety can lead you to neglect yourself. If you notice that you're starting to neglect yourself, then just understand that you're having a problem and you can begin to seek for help. There is help available. Please do not sleep on this. Do not think that you can cope on your own. Visit your GP and ensure that you seek for help. And I think my time's almost up. I've got a few links. I'm going to send it to the convener, but it's just links about, for example, in Cambridgeshire, we have Cambridgeshire and Peterborough talking therapies. It's self-referral. And then in Bedfordshire, we have Bedfordshire talking therapies. For those who have come from London and other areas, I will send links to help. These are self-referrals, and they're available they're available for free within the NHS. Okay, so as the key takeaways, before I go away, is if you're anxious or you have anxiety and depression, please be aware it's a valid clinical condition. Do not think that you can manage it on your own. Prioritize your health and ensure that you get clinical assessment. Thank you very much.
Please let's appreciate Mr. Abila. So we'll move on to the parenting panel now. And I would like to call on the first person, Precious. Please let's appreciate our media. Thank you very much. Can we have Precious? Please let's appreciate her. The next person is Blessing. Let's appreciate her. You can use either way, yeah. The next person is Pastor Jumoke. Let's appreciate her. The next person is Mr. Chuma. Let's appreciate him. Okay. And then can we have the Akintunde girls? Let's appreciate them, the Akintunde girls. So this is the parenting panel. Thank you all.
Commendable. And also we've got Jumoke, and we've got Precious and her husband Chuka. Thank you all for joining us. Are you okay? Good. So I'd like to start by, or do I start with? Okay, I'll start with you, Precious. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you very much. And sorry about the delay. How are you today, Precious?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Not to put you on the spot, but I'd just like to start with you. Can you briefly share with us what led to you speaking openly about your family's journey and your son's diagnosis?
I would say it wasn't something that, came to me easily or lightly, but I just felt the need, the burden to share, right? Because being a parent with a child on the autism spectrum, I find that it could be a lonely journey, right? You don't really have a lot of people to talk to about it. Most people that you talk to probably don't really get it, right? So just talk between maybe yourself and your partner, or, of course, like I said, people that don't really get it, maybe school, maybe the doctor and all that. So I say, when I started sharing, it was just me, just sort of like journaling in a way, and hoping, to connect with people that could, understand, right? And I found out that when I started doing that, people, I now started like connecting with people that were like me, that I understood, and that way, I started having like a sort of community around it. So I say, yeah, that's how I started the journey.
Thank you very much. Was there any particular moment that you can remember, or any particular season in your life or the life of your family that kind of struck that for you?
Particular season. I guess it happens in stages, right? There have been different seasons, but let me just say the most recent one was probably how I ended up here today, right? Because I had been, putting a little bit of information on social media from time to time, probably like an area of maybe when I'm frustrated, maybe like something happened, I'll just record something, or But I hadn't been consistent with it. But recently, I just felt the need of, sharing more consistently because things were happening and I was noticing changes. I was noticing things were getting better. I was having more understanding about the whole thing. So I guess I now, formed a page called Adrian's Triumph on Instagram, right? And I started recording and, Annie reached out so I can say, okay, from there, I ended up here. So I can say that's something. Sweetie, is there anything in our journey that struck you?
I was just going to come to him actually, because we want to hear your own side as well.
Yeah, I think we've never really shared before the podcast. So we did a podcast maybe 2-3 years ago. There's a friend of ours who did a podcast together, and one of the topics or one of the episodes, 12-episode podcast, was living with a neurodivergent child, and we were the guests because we had to talk about our child. And that's the first time we were actually sharing publicly, right? But I think my biggest takeaway from that was the feedback and the comments on that episode, which for that whole season, because they talked about other topics which had nothing remotely to do with this topic, but we got a lot of feedback, a lot of comments, and people reached out, and people even said we should start our own podcast and share. But I don't think my wife was ready at that time, right? I think she's now in a better place. So I think that's the moment where I realized, okay, we're not in this journey alone. There's a lot more people out there who are experiencing, and it feels like they might be experiencing it in silence because there's no community around this, if that makes sense. It's only now that, folks like yourself and Enia are beginning to put a community together.
Thank you very much for sharing that, because I was actually looking for that. So it was that podcast and the feedback you got. So that sort of encouraged you to carry on. And I'm sure that led to Dr. Precious' videos that carried on coming. Thank you very much. I'm also a beneficiary of some of your content. Thank you for doing that. And I'll come to you, Jumoke. Can you briefly share with us what led to your open conversations about your son's diagnosis?
I think I'll start by saying good morning and I don't know if it's afternoon already. Yes, really, I'm a mother who learned to speak first by listening, really listening to a child who actually experienced the world in a different and a unique way, and really in a beautiful way. So when my son was diagnosed, it wasn't just a medical moment. It was an emotional roller coaster. It was an earthquake. It's as if you've been given like a sentence. It was an earthquake. Several things was happening. But I felt love. I felt confusion. I felt uncertainty. And the fierce protectiveness all at once. But for a long time, I just kept our journey quiet because I was overwhelmed. I must be honest, I was overwhelmed. And didn't just have the language to actually explain it, what we were living through or what we were going through. And I was a bit unsure. But silence started to feel like a weight. I felt isolated. And the more I connected with the neurodivergent community, the honesty, the courage, the sincerity, the way people showed up for each other actually made me to connect. Oh, really? Okay, you know what? Let me use this. Apologies. But I hope you've been hearing what I've been saying. So I began speaking openly.
Sorry, can we just reverse? Because there are people online that couldn't really hear you.
Bless.
Okay.
So for those on site, it's going to be a repetition, but I will say it again. So yes, I'm a mother who has actually learned to listen, and to listen very well, and really listen. To a child who experiences the world in a unique and a beautiful way, not like the neurotypical ones. I have two amazing daughters that were before him, and they're neurotypical. So it was a different experience. But I started listening and really understand. But when we got the diagnosis, it was a bombshell. It was like an earthquake. The dad is a medical doctor, so he understood the implication. But I was clueless. I'd done my first degree, I'd done my master's, but I didn't really know what autism was. So getting that diagnosis, I needed to start reading, searching, and things like that. But the things I even saw online broke my heart. So it was as if my world was shattered. But keeping quiet, it was like a burden. It was like a weight on me. I was protecting him, but I didn't have that voice. I didn't have that language to speak. But I think out of my healing process, I was able to discover me. I was able to discover my son. And I began speaking for him. I became his voice. Even till now, I am his voice. He's an amazing lad. He's there. He's even still non-verbal. So I am his voice, and we are his voice, because this journey has evolved around a lot of people. So, thank you. So, in a world that everybody could try to label him, he deserves to be understood. So that was when I started speaking. Not one that is misunderstood or diminishes him. I just wanted other families to know that they aren't alone. Because the truth there was that I felt alone. I felt lonely. And to now make matters worse, I'm a Christian. I go to church. It was labeled, and I felt it wasn't inclusive. So I needed to be his voice. I felt discriminated against, in quotes. The word, I mustn't use that word nonchalantly. But the truth there was that I knew I needed to be his voice. And even in the healing process, I had to even put a book together. And that was when I had healed. And there is a Bible verse that says, of the comfort which you have been comforted, comforting one another. The truth there is that most of the time when I see a child with special need, because I lived with it, the experts could say it, but because I lived with it, I slept with it, I could see it in the crowd, I could see it in the multitude, and I was like, this child, that adult that is neurodivergent needs a voice. And that's how I became an advocate. When they are being talked down upon, raise a voice for them. Yes, that child may not be my child, but the truth there is that they matter, they have a voice, and they need to be heard. So that's how I've started speaking. Thank you.
To the young ladies that I've got here with me, I want to really appreciate you again for doing this. How would you like to be addressed today, please? I'm Lola. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Oyin. So could you, perhaps I should come to you, Oyin, first. Could you share what is like growing up with your brother at home? So Oyin and Lola and Jumoke's daughters. Jumoke is a coach. She is a parent. She's an author of 2 books. And she's a wonderful parent to 3 beautiful children.
So I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today. Growing up with my younger brother has been an incredible blessing, but has also been a journey that hasn't been without its challenges. And I'm so glad that this is an event that gets to celebrate both the blessing and the challenges of such an experience. So I would say, if you were to look at the dynamic of our family unit was very strong. Our parents instilled within us a sense of love and patience with him and, protecting him. So within our home, there was always that sense of safety and acceptance, where our brother was simply just our brother. He wasn't differentiated or defined by his differences. So what I started to find difficult at times was when we would go outside the walls of our home and, into public spaces and realize that the world wasn't necessarily as understanding or as accommodating with neurodivergence as a whole. So I remember one moment specifically, me, my mum, my brother, and Demi went to a doctor's appointment, and we were just outside, just talking, gisting, laughing, and a doctor who was like up above, like imagine like up above, opened his window and said, Demi at that time screamed quite a lot, especially in public, in moments where he would get excited, and that's how he would express himself. So the doctor up above shouted and was like, can you tell that boy to be quiet? And I was just like, wow, like if someone who is medically trained to deal with both physical and mental needs can treat him that way and in that moment not see him for who he was, it scared me in the sense of how are other people going to respond to him or react to him. So I think that was a moment that stayed with me because it showed me how easily he could be misunderstood. And I think it also touched me in the sense that it made me appreciate the love within our family, and what we were called to do as siblings was just to simply love him. I wanted our love for him to run so deeply and for him to feel it so deeply that even when he went into spaces publicly, like schools, like shops, etc., where it's not perhaps the norm for him to be neurodivergent, he would feel as though, I'm so loved, I'm so blessed, and I'm seen by people that truly love and value me, and they understand me, and he can feel that love in moments that it doesn't matter what the world will say, it doesn't matter how people respond or react to me. I know that the people that love me value and support me. So that's I think I would say our experience with him so far. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I had a whole lot to share there. Thank you very much. The family unit, the strong family unit, the love, the acceptance, the sense of safety that you feel at home. That is remarkable. Thank you for sharing that. How about you, Lolade?
I completely support everything my sister said. Like I said from the beginning, I understand that some people's experiences might be different, but I must say I was never made to feel like in my home that I wasn't a priority. I was actually saying to my mum in the car here that my mum and dad gave each of us our attention. It wasn't just that Demi was, her whole attention was taken away from us when Demi came into the scene. And even if that was the case, it's understandable to an extent, but our parents made us all feel so loved, gave us the time. I was saying, Mum, I did every activity under the sun. My mum made sure we did everything. So yeah, even from the day Demi got diagnosed, our parents didn't shy away from it. They let us know from the get-go. They even explained, at the time I didn't understand it, but they were very transparent with Demi's diagnosis and what that meant for our family and how we would accommodate it. But since the day Demi's been diagnosed, I've never felt like a background character in our family. Like Oyen said again, I've always felt like Demi's my brother. I've never seen him as anything different. And I love him dearly. But yeah, even the fact that he can sit in the crowd just now, sitting here patiently watching us, it honestly, for me, it's seeing a miracle, because when we were growing up, Demi had some tendencies, some things that obviously as a child I didn't understand to the full extent, whether it be tics, whether it's screaming or just doing other things. And the fact that he's, again, today able to sit here and watch us patiently, I think can give hope to people. In particular to me, I see it as a miracle, but, sorry, I don't want to get emotional, but yeah, I just feel like it was a journey. It took a lot for us to get here today, and he's still growing and he's still progressing. For me, I see Demi's potential. I know doctors have given him boundaries of where they say he can go academically or in life, but for me, I see Demi as having so much potential. And I think once you live with a person that's neurodivergent, you don't see them as just what the doctor says or that diagnosis. You see how far they can go. The doctors may say Demi may not be able to live independently, but I can see Demi in reality living independently because he continues to grow every single day. And I think our whole childhood is a testament to that. So, yeah, sorry.
Thank you very much. I love that you can see what others don't see. I love that you can see what the doctors are not saying, because that's the perspective, that's the eye
that we need to look at our children because there is more within them. They are multi-talented children. Thank you very much. And I also love what you shared about hope, because that's why we are all here today. We're trying to bring hope and trying to bring awareness, bring light to our community. Thank you for bringing that in. So let me come to Dr. Precious again. So what is the biggest challenge or the biggest breakthrough that you've experienced as a family raising your son, especially within the ethnic group, within the community, in terms of the global majority team? What is the biggest challenge that you've experienced within our community and even the biggest breakthrough?
Okay, I would say the biggest challenge we've experienced as a family was when we relocated to the UK, right? When we were in Nigeria, we had a system that was working for us, right? At least thanks to God, we could afford certain things because, of course, back home in Nigeria, you don't have the level of support. Although here, it's not perfect, but at home there's nothing. So basically, you have to use your means to get what your child needs, if you understand what I'm saying. So we were paying for therapists, we were paying for, he was in mainstream school, but of course we put him in small schools that, could meet his needs and everything because we could afford it then. So when we moved here, and, we now had to start going for what, the council could make available to us and things like that, and also what we could get on our own. So it was a very big change for him. The change of environment really got to him. And at the same time, he was becoming a teenager. So we moved when he was about 13, right? So he was struggling with, the changes, the hormonal changes as a teenager, then the whole new environment thing. So we're seeing behaviors that were not there before. You understand? We're seeing things. So it was as if he was a different person, totally. And it was pretty scary for me, and we were really worried, and we're hearing things, getting calls from school, things that didn't used to happen before. We're getting calls from school, your son did this, so come and get your son, come on. And I'm like, that period, it was as if I was going to die. I used to literally wake up in the middle of the night, panting, gasping for air, what was going on and everything. That period was pretty scary, but I would say, glory to God, we are close as a family, and my husband is very supportive, and, I could always talk to him. So anytime I was spiraling and everything, he was always there to help out. Then, of course, God, I was always praying that period. And, over time, when we put our trust in God, we started noticing, changes in him. So, there's a big change. We had his EHCP meeting yesterday. And, his head of school and his class teacher, they were literally telling me that it's as if he's a totally different boy. That he's not the same boy that resumed school in September that we're talking about today. There are many things that are open to him now, that they were not considering as at September because of where he was. And I would say, I think most of that goes to God because, if not for God and, prayers and, him leading us and telling us what to do, and us, giving him the support he needs at home, as well as, as in school, we probably will not be where we are today. So I would say our challenge was when we moved here, but somehow God has gotten us through.
Yeah. Thank God. Thank you very much for sharing. Thank God for the positive changes that we're experiencing recently. And how about you, Dad? Thank you for your support to your wife over the years. I'd like to commend you for that. Well done. What is the biggest breakthrough for you? What would you say is remarkable as a family?
Okay, there's one I don't want to share because my wife knows the scenario. But I think the one thing that has remained consistent for me with him is I always try to remind her and remind ourselves is he's growing. His brain is still developing. He's obviously getting excited. His brain is still developing. And from what I've learned about him, his brain is like a sponge. Okay? So there are times where we felt like we were always repeating instructions or repeating data to him, and we wouldn't see the manifestation of those instructions like any typical child would, right? Because you would say, A is A and B is B, and right, and then they'll respond. But with him, you'd have to do it over a period of weeks, sometimes months. But then one day, it will just click, right? So I used to tell her that, yes, it feels like we're not seeing progress now, but that the way his brain works, someday it feel like he just had an epiphany. And the way the epiphany would happen, it will happen in such a short period of time that you will see the drastic change. So some of the things that we're seeing now, in my own opinion, as a result of some of the efforts that we've put in over time.
Yeah.
And it can be tedious, right? I think that's the thing that's challenging. Plus, he's a big lad, as you can see. So, it does take the frame of me being his dad to try to help put him in check, because he's also a teenager. So that's still the combo that I think has been the toughest for me to handle. Boys typically would look to both parents, of course, but in our family, I'm more of the disciplinarian, and then his mom is more of the, I would say, cuddler. She likes to cuddle him. Now, I think that he does take advantage of it, right? So to me, he's nodding. But to me, I think that's the biggest challenge I've had. So when I'm trying to teach him rules, because I wouldn't say, well, because he's neurodiverse that he does, because he understands rules. He knows when he wants to be a good boy, and he knows when he wants to be a naughty child. And then there's scenarios where the situation is getting the best of him and he can't help himself.
Thank you very much.
So in those scenarios, it's hard to figure out, is he being a naughty teenager, or is he being, is it the ASD? Exactly. I think in everything, those two have been the most difficult. Spotting whether this is ASD and requires a different type of approach, or if it is him just being naughty and requires a different kind of approach. So I'd say over the years, even till now, that's probably the biggest struggle I've had as a parent. But we overcome.
Thank you. Thank you. He will. All I can hear you say is patience, patience, patience. So be patient with him, and things will fall into places. Thank you very much for sharing that. Jumoke, coming to you now. What practical advice would you give to parents who feel overwhelmed or isolated in their journey of raising a neurodivergent child?
I think most importantly is when you get the diagnosis, I just want you to accept it, because most times parents are in denial and we don't want to accept it. Then in a way, I put the details in my book. I brought the books. Maybe you could avail yourself a copy. But however, the system in itself could fail you. But be deliberate and intentional about your child, because the system could be a blocker in itself. Especially for an immigrant, it can be very lonely when you don't have anyone around. And the most important thing is that there is what is called early intervention. When you don't have the right support system around, the child can end up being in a particular portion of the spectrum. But when there is early intervention, it goes a long way. So I will encourage parents, loved ones, when you see it, when the diagnosis happens, accept it. There could be a period of denial. It's okay. But be quick not to stay too much in it. And I believe in God. I believe in miracles. But even in that, God has given us brain. He's giving us science. Use it to your advantage. Okay. And most importantly, let yourself feel what you feel. You know your child, and your child is unique. No child on the spectrum is the same. They could have some similar features, but they are unique. Every child is unique. Trust your instinct, and trust it fiercely, especially as a mother. Even if you know a mother, you know someone, trust the instinct and follow your instinct. In Christianity, we may call it the Holy Spirit, but even if you don't have God, or you are not a Christian or Muslim or anything, trust your instinct and follow it. Your child is not behind. Don't compare your child. I have two amazing neurotypical children, and I have Demi. But the truth is that Demi is unique. He has a way of communicating that no one communicates. He is emotional. When he hears my voice, he knows when I'm happy. He knows when I'm getting cross with him. So please, I just want to encourage you. Your child is not behind, and you are not behind. And another mistake that I would say in retrospect, I will look back at is I wanted to know what I did wrong in my pregnancy. I wanted to fix it. I wanted to know what went wrong. But I just want to encourage you that you are learning. You are on a journey. You will learn a new language. It's just as you want to go to Paris and you find yourself in Egypt. You need to learn the language, the culture of Egypt. Adapt it and be flexible. Yes, I can't exalt it, but you require patience. Never compare. Even the neurotypical children, they are not the same. In fact, both of them are from the same mother and father, but they're unique. So how much more that child?
Thank you very much. Just so we all know, Pastor Jumoke has 2 books out there for us to go and purchase if you would want to hear more, because she is fully loaded and can keep us here till evening. But unfortunately, we don't have the time. So I'm just going to ask the ladies here with me one last question before we go. And if you can just answer in a minute, that would be good. The mic, please. Oh, you've got your mic. Yeah. So what supported you while you were growing up as a child with your brother? Is there any particular thing that supported you that you can share for other siblings who have a brother or a sister that is neurodivergent as well?
I think embracing the fact that, like, you guys are siblings, in the sense that both of my parents come from big families. They know that bond that can come between siblings and kind of that unity. Understanding and embracing that fact is what makes siblings so strong. I love him dearly. He's my brother. In fact, he's the youngest of the 3 of us. So if anything, innately, I'm more protective of him. So that has kept us united in the sense of, yes, he is different, but he's beautiful in that difference, and he brings something so unique to our family. He brings something so unique to our trio as siblings. So yeah, I'd say that.
Thank you very much.
And for me, I feel like it was understanding how he communicates. Obviously, like my mum said, Demi's non-verbal, and some people think, oh, how do you communicate with him? You can't speak to him. But for me, I can stay with Demi for hours and feel like I'm actually spending quality time with him. When he was younger, again, I didn't know that well how to communicate, so I tried physical touch. I'd give him hugs. When I could, I'd put him on my lap, and in that, we were able to form some form of relationship. Again, like my mum said, Demi understands tone very well. So when I speak to him, I'm very conscious of how I'm speaking to him, because he knows when I'm happy by the way I'm speaking. He knows when I'm angry by the way I'm speaking. So I recognize he's very sensitive to that, and I've been able to attune the way I talk to him and relate to him, just so he can feel that much more loved. So yeah.
That is very, very key, and I'm glad we had that extra minute for you to share that. Thank you very much for sharing. Thank you, parents, and thank you, young ladies.
Thank you very much. Please, let's appreciate them. That's the parenting panel. So can you all see the QR code here? Just scan it if you have any questions for these people. Or if you want to come out, please feel free to come outside and ask your questions. Please come outside. Thank you very much. Please, let's appreciate her.
Hello, everyone here. Okay, here. Hello. I just want to appreciate you all here. Thank you for coming, and also have the courage to come and tell your story to us. I really appreciate that. Thank you. My question goes toward my questions, or question, I will say, go toward the siblings, because I also have a neurodivergent child, and I have a neurotypical child as well. So I just want to know if you have ever been embarrassed to show your neurodivergent brother to your friend, like may think that maybe they will bully you, they will not accept you as a friend. Have you ever felt that?
Personally, maybe when I was younger, I feel like my mom was talking in the car that when we were younger, everything my mom made us feel like a unit. So every time we were invited to a party, my mom would be conscious that your brother's going with us. And maybe at times, especially when his tics were at its peak and he would sometimes scream, I'd be like, oh no, then he started again. But as I was growing, as I became more comfortable with him, I've realized that if Demi's not coming with me, I'm not interested. I remember one time our friend invited us to a party and they specifically said that they didn't want our brother there. And I said, I'm not going unless you invite my brother. So obviously, when you're younger, especially as yourself, you don't understand the way his behavior is presenting, and unfortunately, in some situations, that may cause embarrassment. However, I've always claimed Demi as my brother, and like I said, we're a trio, we're a unit, and I've never felt embarrassed to say he's my brother. If anything, maybe like when we were younger, his tics and stuff, the way he was presenting, that would have caused embarrassment, but it wasn't him directly, if that made sense.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you very much for sharing that. Do you want to add to that? Oh, thank you. Okay, yeah, the young man there. Thank you.
Well, I don't know if my question has two parts or it's just one, big question. But what I want to ask is, when your child reaches adulthood, you're a neurodiverse child, and they have to take on the world all by themselves or with their carer, how can they handle themselves in public? Because, there's a lot of things to consider. Like the main thing I want to talk about is discrimination. Like, there are bigots in this world, like big bad bigots. And it all has to come with the fact that, you don't have favorable traits that the other people I see as normal have. And it's honestly a really stupid way of thinking because, there's variation and there's no preventing it. Other people will be different from the type of perfect desired human you want, So that's my question. How would they handle themselves in public? Because I have my brother Adrian, yeah, and his behavior can be like impulsive and stuff if I'm going about things correctly, because I can say rude things without like actually thinking about what I said. My question is, so when like autistic people, I don't know how to phrase it because, like neurodiverse people can like
how can we prepare him for this world? Is that
like
what you're
this
asking?
world, they can take it on independently or with a carer and stuff. Like,
so I would say we should
Yeah.
leave. Okay.
Really pleased to meet you. My name's Jules, and I've been autistic all my life. Okay? I have an autistic wife with an autistic daughter, and I came from, as far as I'm concerned, two autistic parents. Now, all these lovely things that everybody has said today about the diversity amongst autistic people, they're all absolutely, completely on the money. And what these wonderful parents are trying to do is to give their kids the absolute best opportunity with a difficult situation that they've been landed with by God in your situation. Okay? I would say to you that with the skills that you have, with the things that you find out about yourself as you grow closer to being a man, that you will take advantage of all of those things and find a way to make those work for you to your best advantage. Because it's not, as somebody said earlier, it's not all about the disadvantages. It's very much often about the advantages, and you'll find them for yourself.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your braveness. Thank you. Do we have any other questions?
If you have any other question, please, you can see them after or just scan it and they will address it because of time. Thank you so very much. Please, let's appreciate the parenting panel.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. So please feel free. We have the refreshment just behind you. Feel free to take whatever you want there. We have drinks. Yes, we have the drinks and we have the snacks there. So please feel free, feel comfortable to take that. And also the health check, please go outside. Feel free. The desk is there for the health check. Is that okay? Thank you so very much. So over to the media now. I'll be calling on Eniola to come up stage. Media, are you ready for us? That's the launch of the thriving interests. Media? Yeah. Thank you very much. So I have the great opportunity and great honor to make welcome Mrs. Eniola Oyegunle. Please, let's appreciate her, the convener of this powerful event. Let's appreciate her, please, as she comes up stage. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can see me. I hope you can hear me. If you can't see me, I'll try to move. I'll try my best to move. You can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Hello, everyone. My name is Eniola Oyegule. I have the wonderful privilege of leading this wonderful community of Thriving Beyond the Label. It's a privilege and an honor to do it. Thriving Beyond the Label is a community for families raising neurodivergent children. Thriving Beyond the Label is a community for families raising neurodivergent children. So there's going to be a lot of talk about neurodivergence today, and we are here to break the barriers. We are break those that understand this sign will know. We are here to break the barriers that are associated with communication, and I'm so excited to be doing this presentation because it means so much to us as a community, and you know why. The video must have given you an inclination of what Thriving Interest is all about, and thank you so much to the parenting panel. They actually touched on the reason behind why we are doing Thriving Interest. So when you look at a neurodivergent child, what's the first thing that comes? What do you see? If I'm bold and I say Demi should stand up, what's the first thing you see with a neurodivergent child? It's a rhetorical question. I don't want you to really answer. Do you first of all see the stimming? Or do you see all the dysregulated behavior sometimes? Or you see something deeper? I think some of the siblings, the Eddington girls, talked about it. As a parent to two wonderful boys who are on the autistic spectrum, I've had to learn to change the way I see my children, irrespective of the challenges. Those things that don't make sense, those behaviors that are questionable, I choose not to see it when I see my children. When I see my children, I see good in them. I see potential. I see what they are good at. I see something that people call special interest, but we call it thriving interest, which is why we are here. I encourage you to, as a parent, or even as an ally, as our keynote speaker has said, when you see a neurodivergent individual, change your perspective. I'm emphasizing this point because it's almost difficult to change your perspective when you are faced with a child having a meltdown. Change the perspective. Remember those things this child is good at. And that's exactly what Thriving Interest is all about. Our goal is simple. Thriving Interest is about nurturing the strengths that are in our neurodivergent Next phase is the showcase, where we are going to loud it, have events like this, where we are promoting all the things that our children do so well. Then the last phase is really the develop phase, which is where the collaboration comes in with the professionals and organizations. So, as I begin to wrap up, I encourage you, are you a parent or a carer? And you have a neurodivergent child? Or are you an ally? Like our keynote speaker has mentioned during her presentation. Have you noticed that someone around you, who the world calls neurodivergent, is doing something extraordinary? This is the time to begin to nurture those interests. Don't let people tell you that it's not early, it is too early. Start from where you are right now to begin to nurture those interests. Are you a professional, like an educator, or in any space from the presentation that we had before, music, science, or any other thing we haven't even thought about, and you are already used to supporting children like ours? I mean, we're a community that are very big on partnership. We recognize we cannot do this alone. Thriving Interest is a very ambitious project. We are not trying to do it by ourselves as parents. We want organizations to support us. I mean, there's a lot. I was so excited about my big mommy, by the way, who gave the keynote presentation when she talked about all the things happening in the workspace. So inclusion is really happening in the workspace. And this is one way to promote inclusion. This is now time to now put action behind the rewards, to support organizations like us. And for other communities like us as well, supporting families like us, we encourage you to join hands together. The more of us that do this, the more of us can make impact in our society, so that we can begin to change this narrative. When you see a neurodivergent individual, the first thing that jumps out at you should not be the dysregulation. It should not be the stimming. You should be able to look beyond all that and see, what is this person good at? And see that. And that is our goal with Thriving Interest. So, to recap, we are starting early, just like the professionals have taught us. Early intervention, they've drummed it in our head. So we are also using that same strategy for Thriving Interest. It's going to be a genuinely inclusive initiative, because that is one of the pillars of our community's inclusion advocacy. It's community-driven. As ambitious as we are, we know we cannot do it alone as parents. We welcome partnership from organizations and from professionals. And also, it's future-focused. We recognize that the future of our children starts right now. We're not waiting till after 18, where the system has struck them off and they are like on their own. We want to start right now. And the beautiful thing about this interest is, the beautiful thing and the not too beautiful thing is, some of these interests are actually overlooked in mainstream education. The focus in mainstream education is about acing exams, is about doing all the things that are predictable. So this is an opportunity to do something outside of what is obvious. So, if any of what I've said today resonates with you, I hope it has. Please, if you are in the hall, feel free to stop me or any of the ladies with the blue tags and ask, how can I work with you? In the capacity of an organization representative or a parent or any, we have some organizations, partner organizations who will recognize shortly. Feel free to stop me after this to find out more about it and how we can partner. And for the benefit of those online, you can scan the QR code on the screen or visit our website, thriving.beyondthelabel.org. We are very active on social media at Thriving Beyond the Label. We are confident, in fact, overconfidence, they worry us, if I can use that Thriving Interests can truly become Thriving Futures with the right support. Thank you very much.
Please, let's appreciate her. You can do better. That is the woman that God has given the vision for this powerful The next person is Amanda. Amanda, let's appreciate her. The next person is Evangeline. Let's appreciate her. And the last person is Azin. Let's appreciate her. So this is the professional panel. Media, over to you. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. We've eaten, haven't we? Some of us haven't. So I would like to welcome everyone once again for joining us so far in this conversation that we've been having all along all day today. My name is Temilolu Funke-Popola. We're going to introduce our panelists in a minute. But before then, I'd just like to say that the theme for this event today is breaking barriers and unlocking communication. So today our conversation here today is going to center around communication. How can we help these special people and ourselves as well to know how to better communicate or how to understand the special people? And as we all know, that people communicate, especially children, in different ways. And where I believe our professionals here are going to be helping us understand those differences, at the same time explore how we can better communicate so that their voices can be well heard. So I know we've done a bit of introduction, but I would like you professionals to please tell us your names, what you do. I'll go first. My name is, let's say, my name is Jane, and I'm a doctor. That's not who I am anyway, but that's what we would like you to say. So, I guess you have to use this.
Hello. My name is Amanda. I am a teacher. I worked in a primary school mainstream for 8 years, and then I decided to move into special education. Do you want to know why?
No, we'll come back to that in a minute. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Oluwase. I'm an occupational therapist. I practiced in Nigeria before relocating to UK.
Can we have you introduce yourself, please? Am I okay to use this mic, right?
Yeah, hi, I'm Evangeline. I am a speech and language therapist, and I have worked as a speech and language therapist in the NHS for about 13 years. I also work in my church as the additional needs coordinator to support young people and children to participate fully in church life.
Thank you. Can I use this? Yeah? Hi, my name is Azin, and I'm a music therapist. Before becoming a music therapist, I was working as an art teacher with learning disabilities.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Axel. Can we start from you then,
Sure.
if that's okay? So what led you into music therapy?
So, a few years back, when I was working as an art teacher in a center, especially for children with learning disabilities, my job was to find creative ways and artistic tools to help children learn. And I shortly realized that music was different. Music was helping in more different, in helping them in to be able to communicate and connect more effectively. And then that led me to do some research, and I find out about music therapy. And when I was reading about music therapy and when I was a trainee, I learned that music is not just something that you play or you perform or you just listen to, but it has more potential. It can help you connect, it can help you communicate, it can help you express your emotions and feelings and needs and also regulate them.
Awesome.
That was my, I would say, working in that center in my home country. was the biggest, I don't know, the only reason that made me realize the power of music.
Awesome, thank you. I know we all believe or we agree to that music is indeed powerful. I'll come to you, Amanda. And my question is, what inspired your journey into SEND and special needs? SPEND being special educational needs and disabilities. So what inspired the journey?
So let's say more than 10 years ago, having a Senko in the school was not compulsory. And teacher training, when it came to special needs, there was very limited training available for teacher training. So 1 year on my journey in my career, I had a child with Down syndrome enter my classroom who I was responsible for her learning and care. And I felt very ill-equipped to help because of the lack of training. So I did a lot of research. I spoke to a lot of external professionals. And my neighbour, who worked in a special school, told me there was a job going. And then I decided to apply because I wanted to immerse myself in the school to really find out more. And to be honest, I have not looked back. I still remain I work in a special school. I love what I do. Yeah, that's fine.
What a journey, thank you. And here you are today, changing lives.
Sorry, that's because Eniola's son joins us at Champions Club in C3 Church, Cambridge, which I also lead to support children with SEND at the church.
Awesome, thank you so much. Evangeline, I'm going to come to you next. And what motivates your work with children with additional needs and their families?
Yeah, so I've always worked and loved working with children, and I sort of fell into this role really a long time ago now as a speech and language therapist. But what I used to work in London, and I worked in the Child Development Centre where children and young people were going through the diagnostic process, usually for autism. And I would work with the children and the families, and I just loved the connection that I would get to make with the children who may struggle to find moments of connection with other people. And I loved supporting and walking the journey of the diagnosis and the process with those families. But now, for the last 8 years, I work in special schools mainly. And for me, the biggest joy that happens is when I can find a way that a child or a young person can communicate in whatever way they can. It does not have to be through speech. It might be through symbols, it might be through signs, it might be through their body language, but creating a system, a communication system for them, whether that's paper-based or electronic, so that they can use their voice independently to tell you they're happy, or to tell you that they want a biscuit, or to tell you that, to tell their mum, I love you, or to tell, them that they're afraid to go to school, or as they're growing up, to tell their boyfriend or girlfriend, that, they want to plan a trip to the cinema. That is, I think, what keeps me doing the job that I do.
Thank you so much, Angeli. And that takes me to when we had a parent session as well. Just to buttress what you said, that being verbal is not just communication. Children communicate in different ways. Like when we had a sibling saying they understand, or their brother understands where the tone of their voice is raised, they understand that probably they are angry at that moment. And when it's lower, then they understand that, oh, maybe I'm happy, or everything is just normal. So just to buttress our point that being non-verbal doesn't mean we can still communicate. There are different other ways through which we communicate. And that brings me to you, our occupational therapist. So I would say, before coming here today, all I knew about occupational therapists is looking after the adults. I haven't actually seen an occupational therapist who looks after children, especially children with additional needs. So tell us what led you into being an occupational therapist.
Yeah, for me, I stumbled upon being an occupational therapist in a, let me say, miraculous way, because back in Nigeria, occupational therapy is not that popular, so it's more about becoming a doctor, medicine, and things like that. Yeah. But luckily, my dad works in an hospital, and then he got to know about a school that starting about occupational therapy, and that was how my journey led into that. And from that moment, I enjoy working as an occupational therapist. And when it comes to children, their major occupation is play. And as an occupational therapist, we are experts when it comes to occupation. And what we mean by occupation is not just jobs. It means every activity that an individual engage in that means to their lives. And for children, play is one of the most important aspects. And that is why when it comes to occupational therapists and children, we use play as a medium. And a lot of people look at it that, oh, they are just playing. But we are not just doing that. And like what Enola said, from play, you can easily detect the children's interest. You can easily detect their strengths. And that can be used in order to build up their skills, build up their strengths, and make them to achieve independence in every of their activities that they are doing.
Thank you so much for that response. I'm going to come to you, Amanda, now. And the next question is, what would you say to parents who are unsure of starting AAC? I Googled that. And I think it's augmentative and alternative communication. I believe that's trying to get help when there's a delay in speech. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, please.
So in our school, we have AAC, which is the low-tech and high-tech, for example, where you have symbols in paper form or on devices. And we have some parents who are unsure about using it, but really it's about researching, talking through with the external professional speech language therapist or your teacher or the SENCO to really understand what it is that you feel is the right next step for your child. That's, it's a big decision when you're not sure about something, so that's quite normal. And I would just say that the AAC is actually complementary to supporting a child to speak. It doesn't replace spoken language. So I think some parents have a misunderstanding or fear that actually it's, if their child is taught to use symbols to communicate or to use signing, that somehow it's going to affect their ability to speak one day or to expand on the words that they can say. But actually, in practice, what it does is it allows the child to be heard while still continuing to learn how to use their words in context. So it really is amazing to help the child have a voice.
Thank you so much. So what do you say to that parent that is very unsure and they're still very doubtful, should I not? Would you tell them to go for it?
I think what my recommendation would be is it's always good to trial things, because with each child, because they're so different, it might not be the right AAC. The child, for example, I have tried PECS, picture exchange communication with a child, and the child, he became quite distressed by using it. However, he had his own way of doing Makaton signing, so we went more with the Makaton signing route. So sometimes it's trial and error. You are trying to build up as much communication support that works for the child, but it is well worth trialling first and seeing how they get on, but equally trialling that at home and school.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Music therapist. Sorry. So my next... Hello? All right, we're back. My next question to you, Azin, is how does music therapy, how does it support communication for neurodivergent or non-speaking children?
I believe the basis of all therapy work is to provide a safe space and a trusting space so that the client feels just safe to be able to explore things. And that's how it starts. It's believed that many children, many autistic children, respond well to repetitions and patterns, and music can bring a structure. Music can bring a structure and some sort of predictability so that it can make it easier for children to feel safe and then be able to communicate. For example, in a music therapy session, if I play a repetitive rhythm and then stop, pause, and give space to the client, then the client might use this space to respond different ways, might just imitate the rhythm, might use their voice to vocalize, and this turn-taking is already a form of communication that is happening.
Thank you so much. I'll come to you now, Anjali, and my question is, so what simple steps can families take at home to support communication, being a speech and language therapist?
Yeah, and again, I think I would echo what Amanda said, is every child is different and every child is unique, so the key is tailoring that support to them. But as a starting point, I think I would always, I would think about building understanding of language. I think a lot of us, including professionals, parents, schools, we're so focused on expression. We want our children to tell us what they want, tell us what they need, and that is normal, that is understandable. But before expression comes understanding. So we need to build understanding first. So, and that takes time. So if your child is showing a strength in learning language through symbols or Makaton signing or in other ways, that is learning a new language. Speech, just like learning speech is learning, so that takes time. So before we expect expression, remember that you'll need to model, you'll need to use their language system for a while before they can use it themselves. But some simple strategies could be very simple things like following a child's lead at home. So go with their interests, and that's what we were talking about today. Follow what they're interested in, because that means we are immersing ourselves in their world. They're more likely to communicate with us when they see that we're responding to their interests. And that could be for a few seconds, it could be for a few minutes, depending on that child's attention. It could be other things like when they're playing, instead of asking questions, make a lot of comments, because we're very, again, we want to find out what they know. So we talk about, oh, what's that color? What do you call that? We ask a lot of questions. Replace that with comments, because our goal is providing language, not just asking what they know. We're trying to teach them. So commenting is a good, knowing your child. So for some children, using objects can really help. So having objects associated with their daily routines or their interests. They're called objects of reference. So a towel might signal bath time, keys might signal going outside, shoes might be going into the garden. So show them the object before you do something. That builds their understanding of what's coming up, builds up predictability. Please speak to your schools and your professionals. Having symbols and signs does not hinder communication or speech in any way. In fact, they augment communication. Symbols and signs slow down our speech, so we automatically slow down. It helps children process information better, helps children understand information better. And if we speak and we sign and we use a symbol, they will choose what they want to communicate through better. So yeah, this is some kind of way we could
Thank you
do
so
that.
much. That's very well explained. And I think it's more of a collaborative work, really, between the children, the parents, and working with other professionals as well.
Yeah.
Like when you say that you're making it more, make comments. Don't just say, make comments when they are playing. Or
Day-to-day routine. So while you're giving your bath, day-to-day routine. So while you're giving your bath to your child, it might be just doing an action like splash, 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 or it might be, pouring the water, and you're labeling what you're doing, you're commenting what you're doing, and that is modeling language in things that they're already doing. You don't have to create a special half an hour in your day to do any of this work. It should be, it's just naturally built into while you're getting them dressed, put on clothes, and you do it in the language that you are comfortable speaking in. It doesn't have to be English, it can be whatever language that family speaks.
So normal activities of daily living, basically.
Yeah.
And we're now doing it, talking and commenting. Thank you so much. I'll come to you now, Shay. Yes. So my next question is, how does OT support sensory regulation and daily independence in children with additional needs?
When it comes to sensory regulation and independence, they are kind of interrelated. And I always say that an overwhelming child will not be able to learn, whereas a regulated child can learn. And so it's just about finding a way to make a child regulated. And so when it comes to sensory, it can be too much noise, too much information, too much light, too much everything. And this can affect that child. And that might make the child's brain not to be alert, not to be calm. And in that moment, the child is thinking of, oh, can I just scream? Can I just run away? And things like that. So we just need to find a way of making this child much calmer. And we use what we call sensory diet. And when we talk about sensory diet, we are not talking about food. We are talking about personalized sensory schedule. We are talking about personalized sensory schedules for the child that the child can do on a daily basis. And it can be like something like movement breaks, just taking a walk, jumping, skipping, doing any activities that involves the joints and stuff like that. It can be deep pressure. So this would be incorporated into the child's daily activities. So even when he's in school, we encourage the school to also create out that time. And that will make the child to be a bit calmer and then be able to learn. And that's when independence comes in. For independence, we try to build up the skills. And like I said, the child has to be regulated before you can do that. And you have to just engage. And so when it comes to building up the skills, you try to look at the daily activities the child engages in, like dressing, like buttoning the clothes, like tying the shoelaces, like brushing your teeth, taking a bath, and all these activities. So you try to break them into simple steps. So you take one activity, you break them into simple steps that will be a bit easier for the child to learn. And until the child masters one step, before you move to the next step. And all this comes together and then make the child to be independent. And all these are just to unlock the barriers, find out what is getting in their way, and help the child to build up those skills. And so roughly, occupational therapy just try to engage the child. We try to work on them, try to find out their strengths, try to make them to learn in their own way. And then it helps a lot.
Thank you. Do you work with the parents as well?
Yes, definitely. We work with the family, and because we only spend little time with the children, maybe 45-minute session, 1-hour session. The parent knows these children more than us, and so we have to work with them. We have to build up the sensory diet that I said. We have to incorporate it to them because we are not there throughout the day to see this implementation. So the parent has to do that, and so it's more of a collaborative effort from the child, from the parent, and from the occupational therapist.
Thank you so much. I think we have a common... Hello? Yeah, sorry about that. I think we have a common theme this afternoon, working collaboratively with parents, with children. And the other thing I've spotted is all these things are within the home. They're basically like normal things that we do. But whilst we're doing those things, we're then now being intentional in doing them because we have these people, these children with additional needs.
and we are modeling, I'll borrow your word, modeling those things to them. Thank you so much. I'll come to you, Amanda, and the question is similar to yours as well. And it would be, what sensory-friendly strategies can families use at home to support regulation? Like I said, similar to his as well.
Yeah, so the answer is pretty similar, to be honest, because sensory regulation is all about helping someone's body feel calm, alert, and ready to engage. So, as you said, sensory integration can be done through everyday routines. So some strategies you can do, for example, creating safe, quiet spaces. We find that works a lot because of noise in the environment. So having a place a child can go in the home can be really reassuring and comforting. So that could have things like fidget toys, blankets, weighted blankets, soft lighting, depending on their sensitivities to light. Yeah, so just something that's gonna, that will really calm the child down. And for some children, that might even just be, I've seen, taking a book, if that's their interest. So again, going with their interest. Then you mentioned about sensory breaks and movement. So incorporating that into your everyday routine. Trampolining, cycling, swimming, going to the park. Being involved in household chores, as in a laundry basket, for example, pulling and pushing, moving their toy box, things like that. That's going to get their body physically moving. Really helps to help them keep regulated. Dancing will also be another one. And then reducing the noise further. That could be things like turning down the TV, turning down your devices, ensuring they have comfortable clothing rather than anything that's going to be quite irritating for them that they might wear. And then having those predictable routines, I think that was also mentioned, those things like having your transition boards, because it has been proven that when a child knows what they're going to do next, so they can anticipate what's going to happen next, it can significantly reduce their emotions, the emotional stress that might cause with change.
Thank you so much. I like that you mentioned sometimes reducing the volume of the music also. So I'm going to come to you in a minute, but this question is in line with, most of us here are from black and ethnic minority, or let me not put the black there, minority. And yeah, sometimes we find ourselves in communities where, for example, the music is loud, right? The music is loud, and for these children, they find that really inconvenient. They find, you see some of them really, really like fighting it and saying, they may not be able to say it, but I want out. Take me out of here. This is too loud for me. How do we, your question now, as in, is how do we make music therapy culturally inclusive for diverse families?
First of all, I think what's really important in therapy work is that the work should be person-centered, especially directed to the interests and needs of the client. And if the need is to step away from music, that should be respected at that time. But also provide tools to be able to help to regulate the emotions or to facilitate some ways so that the client would be happy or the child would be happy to come back. About the diversity in music therapy, it's believed that music is a universal language, but it's really deeply centered within one's identity and culture. And I feel like it's really regular for music therapists to ask families about what meaningful music they have at home. It can be lullabies, it can be cultural music, religious music, and when parents share those songs with the therapist, then it can be adapted to therapy session. That in that way, the child can feel recognized because it's within the safe space and it's within the recognized pattern of their life. That answered it?
Yeah, it does. Just want to add, how do we balance it for a child, for example, who is familiar with the music from their culture and all of that, but because they've got additional needs, they may not necessarily, let's say the family still enjoys listening to those music, loud music, and how do we balance it? We find we want them to be identified with that. At the same time, it might not be too good for them, especially when it's too loud. I don't know if I'm saying the right technical terms or terminologies here.
I was asking about within the family, if the family wants to listen to certain
Yeah, for
music,
example.
and the child is not responsive or doesn't really want to.
Maybe overreacting to the sound of the music.
But I think providing space for a child with a neurodivergent child is really important. And it's true that there have to be set some boundaries and some groundworks for the child. But also, I feel like there should also be some compromise as well. I have to be honest. I can give a professional idea within the music therapy, within the therapy room, but I feel like each family might find different ways to actually overcome this challenge, because every child is different, every need is different.
Thank you so much for that. And I'll come to you, Anjali. The next question is, how can families and schools use communication systems consistently across settings?
As a group, then children will have more predictable support. Their support at home and school will look similar, for example. But a few things that can help might be, one is that whether it's school or whether it's professionals, that we share recommendations in a very accessible way to that particular family. So for some families, that could just be a written report. But for some families, that might be going to their home and, modeling those strategies for them within their home so that it's consistent use across the therapy room or the school and the family home. It could be sending coaching videos. So, schools are really good at taking videos of children or them doing their work. Could they send it on their class dojo of how they are modeling a PECS book or a communication book? How are they using symbols or signs with the child in the school? Can that be sent to parents? And then vice versa, parents are experts on their children more than the professional, because parents have known their children all their life. So, it's also the parents' responsibility, I guess, to share what works for you at home, what works for the child at home. Because I always go to the parents and say, can you tell me what are some of his or her interests and what are some of the things that they find challenging? Because that is going to be useful for the therapy session I provide. That is going to be useful for the resources that I provide. So I think it's sharing that, vice versa. Making sure that you're using your message sharing system. So whether that's a book that you send between home and school or the class app, making sure those messages don't get lost. And then making sure the system that your child is using. So we're talking about AAC, which is alternative and augmentative communication. That includes sign language, that includes symbols, that includes communication books, communication devices. That is a child's voice. So as that system that they're using should travel across all of their environments. It shouldn't just stay in school, it shouldn't just stay at home, It should go between places. And let's widen the child's community. You know, the child's community is not just home and school. So if a child goes to an art club, if a child goes to their grandparents' house, if a child goes to their uncle and auntie's house, please bring their communication system with them, because we want to make sure that that child has access to that language in every place they go to, in the shops, in Asda. You know, they need to be able to ask they want chocolate bar using their system, or to say, no, this is too loud, I want to go home. So I think, you know, making sure that our systems are available across those settings.
Thank you so very much. That's really helpful. And I believe Annie had that well detailed in her book as well, just remembering the book, A Champion Speaks. So she put it there in a more practical way as well. And I think it's all working collaboratively with all the professionals as well. And another thing that stands out would be everyone is different, right? And one size does not fit all. So a child is an individual, and so the child should be supported and treated as an individual. We cannot generalize the support we give a child. I'll come to you, Sheyi, and the question is, what practical sensory strategies can families try at home?
For families, every child is different, so there's no one size fits it all. But generally, we can look at some strategies. For example, for children that are sensory seeking, those are the ones that are bouncing, trying to touch everything and things like that. For those children, we just need to provide them with that sensory input that they need. For example, if you are going to the supermarket, you can let them carry the shopping bag, so that provides a bit of sensory input for them. You can, when you are going for a walk, you can give them a bag, their school bag, you can stuff it with a lot of books to make it a bit heavy for them, and that's continue to provide that sensory that they need. And at dinner time, you can maybe on their chair, you can give them a wobble cushion, and that make it not that easy for them to sit on. So this try to provide a stimulating experience for them. You can provide footrest for them also. So all these strategies are just to make sure that they are getting the sensory input that they need. And once they are getting this, they will be able to engage. Rather than, because if they're not getting it, that's why they're sinking it elsewhere. And that's why they are screaming, shouting, touching everything and things like that. And for the sensory avoiders, those ones, you can look at their clothing, because they don't really like being touched. They don't like texture and things like that. And you can try and look at their clothes. Are there tags there? This might be affecting them. Are there seams on their socks and things like that? And you can also create a calm corner for them. When we talk about calm corner, it's not like a punishment. It's like a resource center for them. So when they're about to hit the meltdown, they can go there. And in the calm corners, you can provide a chair for them to sit on. You can make the lights fairy, and you can provide them with noise-canceling headphones. So all these things will make them to be able to be much calmer. And so we also let the child know that, oh, when you are feeling all this tension in your body, you can go to this corner, and that will calm you down. And that usually helps a lot.
So having a structure at home as well helps.
Yeah, but like I said, not one size fits it all.
Yeah,
so you just have to know what your child likes and what it doesn't like, and then you follow their interests.
We cannot overload them with all these activities as well, right?
No, and that's where it comes in. Like, you look at their daily activities, and then you structure all this thing into it.
Thank you so much. And I'll come to you, Amanda. The question is, how can schools and family build independence and confidence together?
So independence and confidence really grows when the families and the school work together, whoever is working with the child, basically. So it's not
we're going to do this and you're going to do that. So it's that collaborative approach again, and making sure, for example, if the child is learning a certain amount of keywords, that is, again, through daily routines and play, repeated throughout the day, as many opportunities to practice those words in context in order for them to develop that independence and confidence using it. And then just having that conversation again, reflection time, meeting again. I know if it's an intervention that's set, the schools sometimes call the parents in between 6 to 8 weeks, could be. And then you'd be talking about what's been working well and have a reflection and set some new targets. If the child has met, learnt those words, you'd put new ones. So it's not just dragging out and waiting for a next parents' meeting. It's a continued cycle with the parents at school. And also just being kind to yourself and making sure that you're giving processing time and just knowing that it does take time. For some children, it can be a quick response, and for some children it can take longer, but that's okay because it's all about starting from where the child is at. But again, that collaborative approach and working on the same goal will definitely promote independence and confidence.
Starting from where the kid is at. Thank you for that. We're running out of time, so I'm going to come to you quickly. Practical examples of simple activities, music activities that we can do at home to support our children.
Start the day or start a sort of program with hello song and then finish with a goodbye song. A hello song and goodbye songs are really simple songs that keep happening every day at the same time, which includes the child's name in it. And then it can help for the routine and help the child to actually feel recognized. That can be an interesting activity. Also, I believe, as Amanda mentioned, mixing music and movement, bouncing with music, dancing, clapping through music can help regulation. Also, using body percussion, clapping, simple tools that are available at home can help to play a certain rhythm and then try to make a dialogue. The parent can make a certain rhythm and then give space to the child to respond back. And then over time, that can form a dialogue. It's completely nonverbal. You can even use your voice, you can vocalize, but it can be really effective.
Thank you. More like we are composing. Okay, I'll still asking you this question very briefly. And what changes do you see when music becomes part of a child's routine?
I believe it can help the child become more responsive, and then it can also help the child to become more engaged in different activities. Also, by practicing nonverbal communication through music in the therapy session, the child is actually basically practicing a form of communication, which then in the day-to-day life, it can give them more resource to be able to actually handle day-to-day life. It can help them with confidence, and I have to say that can happen over time, but the results can be evident over time.
Thank you so much, Akshay. And I'll come to you now, Evangela. The question is, how can communication support be culturally responsive for minority families? 2 questions. And the other one would be, how should parents seek specialist speech and language support? So 2 in 1, very quickly. Thank you.
So yeah, cultural responsiveness, I guess, is really, I think, building relationships with families and schools. That's where it starts. It's understanding the family's routine, their priorities, their values, what matters to them. And that is different family to family. So when we start to weave our recommendations with the family's priorities and their values, it makes the targets more meaningful. It makes it more likely that the family will be able to implement them. So it might be as simple as if I'm putting a communication book together, asking the family, you know, who is in the family, you know, who might be involved, and they might refer to their family members in different ways. So might have a specific name for granny or grandparent or uncle or auntie or cousins. It might be including their language as part of their communication book if they speak a different language. It might be, you know, for a family that I worked with, going to shops and places of worship were really important. So making sure the language that they use on a day-to-day basis is involved in their communication system. And then you said, do you want me to answer, when should parents seek
support?
Yeah. So again, I think this is really simple. I think parents know their children best. So if you as a parent have a concern and you're worried about something, that is the right time to seek support. So that's your starting point. If your gut is telling you something is not quite right, that's the time. So, you know, start off by, you can go, if your child is young, you have health visitors and GPs, so go to them, speak to them. If your child is in a nursery or a school, then your SENCOs in schools or your class teacher are great points of support. A lot of NHS trusts and have speech and language therapy advice lines that you can contact and contact them and speak to them about your concern. Or like the Cambridgeshire Children's Speech Therapy website has kind of when to refer, how to refer. Most trust websites have that section. So that would be a good point to seek speech therapy.
Thank you so very much. I believe this is how much you can take today. Sorry, we still have some more questions, but we would have to end it here.
Wow, please let's appreciate the professional panel. Thank you so very much. So if you have any question, please kindly scan the QR code, or if you want to come outside, we have just 5 minutes for this, please. I'm going to hold the mic, sorry, because of time.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I will go quick. My question is for music therapy. Meant for children with neurodivergent children, because I have a neurodivergent child, and every time I go for parent consultation, they say, "Oh, your son loves music. Oh, we will book more sessions for him." But at home, when I put music, sometimes he gets distressed and he just turns the whole thing down. So what type of music do you play for them? And yeah, if it could help, you know, and then I can start doing it at home.
I have to say, it really depends on the child's mood and feelings, what type of day it is. If you might see that the child would be distressed with music at home, then maybe using really soft music, maybe even using your voice, vocalizing, humming, something that makes more connection can be really helpful. Lullabies, I'm not really sure what sort of music you listen to, but soft and gentle music can be a good way to start.
Afrobeat. Is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Something like hip-hop.
Yeah, of course, I'm familiar with African music. But as you said, he might show distress to this type of music. Am I right? Yeah. So maybe starting with some more gentle music, or even turn down the volume, or maybe trying to find something meaningful, maybe dancing, or maybe doing something else through the music together. Maybe that can help it better.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say, that reminds me of a time when a parent asked me, My child won't do the reading at home, but does the reading at school with you. And some children find it very difficult to continue what they do at school at home, because they're two separate places. What I do at home is my home. It's different, my activities, my routine, to school. And that change can be overwhelming in itself. So sometimes even introducing that visual schedule we were talking about, so that they can anticipate what changes might be happening in their home environment that maybe they weren't, used to, can help some children. And then some children absolutely just refuse, and they will only do it in a school setting. So it's about listening to the child's voice as well. But definitely exploring different genres of music, and hopefully they find something that they enjoy. But that could be in different ways. That could be, even if it's not in the home, going out to a club that offers, so that they can enjoy it with the family. Just different alternatives.
Thank you very much. Any more questions, please? Please. Thank you. Let her just stay there, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Sorry, sis. You went to school? Start again.
I have a child, he was old, and he can't speak early. So me too, I was same as him when I was a child. I couldn't speak early. So children always bully me in Ghana. But I came here, I learned a lot of stuff with, like Lily is my friend. He have a child who is autism. And I was new with that children. And I got closer to Lily and I said, okay, let me study how children behave. Maybe it's similar to mine, but I realized that it's not similar, but it's normal thing. And he was going to school, and the teacher was saying that, why your child is always like calm, you don't play with any child, you can't talk. If he asks me a question, you'll be quiet and watching your face. And I tried to explain to the teacher that I was there before. So I need to ask that, is this like a sickness or it's like a normal routine? Because I don't speak English. I speak Twi all the time. So I need to ask that, is this a sickness? Because the nurses and my social worker was complaining that a child by his age have already spoken already. And I said, I'm not a nurse or anything, so I don't know any further. So I need to ask that, is this a sickness or is this like a normal thing?
Sorry, how old is your child?
It's almost 6 years now.
And he doesn't have any verbal speech, is that right?
No.
So that is a delay. I don't know if your child has any additional needs or diagnosis, but from a purely speech and language point of view, yes, a child who is non-speaking at 6 years of age has, if he's not speaking any language, whether that's English or another language that you might speak at home. So does he speak another language?
No, it's only Twi.
It's only
Twi. Yeah, it's from it's a local language from Africa.
Oh yeah, so does he speak that?
Yeah.
Oh, he speaks that fluently with no difficulties?
Not all the time, because now he's going to school, so he speaks more English more than my language.
Did you move to the country recently, or how long?
No, I've been here almost 9 years.
9 years. Okay. Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So it looks like, from what you're saying, he has difficulties in both languages that he's exposed to, English and the other home language.
Yeah, Twi.
So I would say now that he's 6 years old and he is having difficulties in both languages, this is the right time to seek support from a speech and language therapist. So please do speak to your school and your local, like your GP, and they will make a referral. And you can kind of figure out what supports they can give you to help your child communicate in the best way that he can.
Thank you very much. In case you have questions for the parenting panel as well, so please feel free to ask them. They're here.
Sorry, I just want to add that when it comes to children and milestones, like we've been saying about early intervention, we should not wait a certain age before we seek help. So even if the child would become a neurotypical child, whether you seek help at age 2, age 3, doesn't matter. It helps to start early. So even if the child goes over to the neurotypical side, he would have still learned all those skills. And even if the child is a neurodivergent child, that means that you've already started early. So don't let us wait for, is it a delay, or is it normal, or is it this, or because the parent was also like this, then the child, maybe we should have to wait. Please don't let us wait, because the earlier, the better.
Thank you very much. All right. Any more questions for the professional panel or for the parenting panel? Yes, please.
We have a question from the Q&A. It's a bit off topic, but this will come to you, Amanda, as the educator on the panel. It says, what are your comments about the upcoming SEND reforms, especially regarding EHCP?
Yes, so, well, actually, that's not really been discussed yet because I'm on the middle leadership team. We have a senior leadership team who deal with that, so I can't actually say what their plans are because they haven't told us yet. Obviously, I think it's ludicrous to say a child does not need an EHCP or to take those, take anything like that away. But sorry, I'm not part of the senior leadership team, so I can't comment just as of yet. But I said it, I don't think they should take anything away. It should still be in place. It's there to protect the child and to have a system where the school and other professionals are held accountable. So I think, yes, it should remain.
Thank you very much. Any more questions?
This is on behalf of because I, as a parent, I feel like we rushed the parents. So you have 5 minutes to share whatever you know that is very critical and burning in your heart. Because one of the questions today addressed, which I think will be useful for people, is what strategies, this can go to Jumoke or even Blessing, what strategies have helped your family to maintain connection during stressful periods? And if you can kind of marry it with strategies that help you as a parent to support your child without losing your mind most of the time. So if you can just try and just summarize it, just to give a bit of context.
Good afternoon once again. Okay, as a parent, I think the support system is important. For me, one very important one is the Word of God, because somehow when I feel overwhelmed, it's like an overload for me. And when I go into the Word of God, it's as if it's like God was reading my mind. And at times, it may be that I listen to someone's message or I watch a clip. So those that are doing a lot of content creation, the positive one, the Word of God, you're changing lives. But when Demi was diagnosed, there was not many of them. So my immediate family is also very important. Trying to hold one another, thank God for my husband, to be there for one another, because at times it can be really overwhelming. And as immigrants then, there were not so many people of my of my origin then. So it was a lot. It was like a lonely journey. I just want to encourage employers, because, for instance, when I came in, I needed to work. Otherwise, I would have stepped aside and looked after my child. But I needed to work for my residency in the country to be valid, not to be an illegal immigrant. So I had to juggle that, work. So it is important that employers are reasonable and inclusive, because I could remember I've worked with amazing managers, amazing teams, but there was one that was a pain in the neck. She just didn't understand. But in retrospect, I felt she was going through her own baggage. So I wouldn't fault her. But in the place of work, someone out there may just be in pain. You could just support them. A smile, a word of encouragement. UK weather is wonderful, but beyond UK weather, people are going through a lot and juggling and coming to work. The church too can be a good support system. However, people can easily label one another. I felt the church needs to be educated. It is not a disease to have autism. Then I could remember, because my son was very hyper, it was literally the ushers were waiting. If he stood up, they were ready to bounce him out. So please, churches, let's be a voice for these ones, so that we're inclusive. Because by the time you're already telling them you don't want them to intrude the service and things like that, you're telling them you're not welcome in the church. And to be honest, as a person, I vouch and I'm committed to it, that in church, everybody should be welcome. In my book, I also mentioned it. You have a church, there is no disabled toilet. There is no access to the wheelchair to even enter your church. You're already telling the person with a wheelchair, you're not welcome to the service. And the church is going on, the music is loud, the sensory needs is overwhelming. Let's create a space for these children. They need a room that when they're overregulated, they can go into a sensory room. Let us be inclusive in the church, in the workplace, and everywhere we go to. Thank you.
Okay. We have someone here.
Thank you, Pastor, for that. I'm just coming from a medical point of view. We're talking about stress, and that's why I came in. Remember my conversation earlier, my presentation earlier. If self-care is very important, so if you get to a point where you're so stressed, like I said, if stress lasts for more than 2 weeks, it becomes a medical problem. So seek for help. We have support system. I see a lot of parents come to the GP surgery, parents with neurodiverse children. And they've come to a point where they're not able to cope with all the routines anymore. They're breaking down. You can see that this parent is unable to cope anymore. So at that time, we medical professionals will do an assessment, do some referrals. And sometimes we even start them on medication. And, the medication is not to say that being on medication, don't look at it from a spiritual point of view, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim. It doesn't matter what background you're from. The medication is there to support you through that period. Because if you break down, imagine who will look after that child. So you don't want to get to that point where you break down and then mentally you are then admitted into a hospital or point. So just nip the bud on the bud. Make sure that you seek for help. There are talking therapies. We'll refer you to. It's also important to build. One of the things I do when I do assessment is to ask for your support system. It's part of the criteria when we do assessment for depression and anxiety. What support system do you have? Do you have relatives? Do you have friends you talk to? Do you have groups you go and talk to? Or do you have anyone you confide in? Do not keep things to yourself, because that would eat you up. Just speak to somebody. Go to your GP. Most of them come to the GP, and that's where you know that your information, everything is confidential. If you're not happy to talk to relatives, but there is support in the system. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I think when I started, one of the questions I asked was who supports a neurodivergent person. And the reason why I asked that question is because it's very important for neurodivergent carers and parents to know that they're not alone in this journey. And we that don't have that sort of, we're not living their world, there are a lot of people who are out there to help. And as the pastor said, in your workplace, there is a lot of support in the workplace. You just need to ask. There's a lot of support in the community. You just need to ask. When I talked about what I do at work, one of the reasons why we do that is because we know that number one, we do have a lot of neurodivergent colleagues, and we make sure that they're included and the environment is inclusive. But they are already in that environment, so they're already welcome. These children we're talking about, they are going to get to a stage when they need to be in the work environment. So what we're doing now is really preparing them to be accepted in those environments. You don't wait until your child is 21 to say, how are they going to fit into the work environment? Opportunities are there. Make your employers do things. When we were doing our corporate meeting at the beginning of the year, I said to people, listen, any event that we have in this organization has to be able to accept people who are disabled. So if you're planning an initiative, let us know what we need to put in place to allow people in the wheelchair, people who are partially sighted, people who are neurodivergent, anything that does not discriminate against a disabled person, you have to be able to put it out there in the workplace. So my message here is really, if you're not supporting a neurodivergent person or cause like this, please get involved, because not only are you giving back, but you're also giving parents respite. Parents need people that are not going through it to understand and see what they're going through, and they can also educate the wider community. Because, as we said, we've seen the statistics. It's not going to go away. If anything, it's going to get worse. So what are we doing to get those children to have a normal life, to get them to live a normal life, to feel included, to be part of the community? So it's not just this environment. It's really us going out there, being advocates, doing what we need to do in our own individual ways to allow those parents to, for children to feel encouraged, to feel involved, and to be included. Thank you.
Please, let's appreciate her. Thank you very much. Okay, so no more questions now. Thank you all, lovely people. So before I call on Eniola, just this important information. We're not ending it here now. So after this session, you need to go out there for the networking. And if you have any speech and speech language slots, please kindly wait behind. You will be seen by the consultants there outside. And for networking and other things, other information, other questions, please feel free to ask when we leave this place. So please make welcome once again, Eniola Oyegunle. Thank you so very much. That's been the brain behind this project. Please, let's appreciate her.
Not only me, I have a team of wonderful ladies. So thank you all for joining. I'm just here to, I hope it's been worth it.
Hold on, please, let's appreciate the professional panel as they take their leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to all our sponsors, Cambridge City and also Cambridge Foundation. Thank you so much for making it possible for us to be here. For our wonderful panelists, wow. I mean, just to brag, all the parents, thank you so much for, and of course, for those that follow me on my social media, I hope you have seen my big mommy now. You know who she is. She spoke just before me. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining. Thank you to all the team of our health, Director of Health, Mr. Abila, the health checks. That can still happen afterwards. You can go to his desk. And also thank you to our children. Your children are having a wonderful time. I'm sure you know. Well, you can pick them up after this so that you can all network. There's still loads of food at the back. And I really have to share this. We had a speech and language partner. You will not believe they canceled on us 2 days before this event. So it's a miracle that we were able to still have this consultation that is happening in the meeting room. And I want you to applaud. She's not here. She's still consulting. A dear friend, my namesake, Eniola Homi, she came all the way from Southampton to come and do this. I mean, It's it's amazing. I just needed to. And for me as a parent, he actually passes a message. We have some professionals that will disappoint, but we also have the good ones out there. The key is just to make sure you seek out the good ones and put them on your side. Feedback is very important. Please, I beg you, the QR code will be there. Please fill the form. The feedback form is very important. We need to justify the money we have spent to our sponsors. And when you came in, there's a registration desk. We have some of our thriving interest products. We have an activity book. We're not selling here. We just have some samples. On the blue card that you were given where you were coming in, you can scan the QR code to access our thriving interest shops. And we're hoping to be back here next year. Do you guys like it here? I love this. I love this venue. Thank you, Storiesfield. We're going to be back next year, and hopefully by then, we'll know what is happening with the SEND reform. So we're going to be talking about education. Please follow all our social media handles at Thriving Beyond the Label. And don't disappear just yet. We have about 30 minutes to network. Go to the stalls. We have Pinpoint. Our big, in Nigeria colloquial language, they are like the grandparents to us. Visit their stand. They have loads of resources. We have some books on sale. Please visit. We have the professionals. All the questions you could not ask, please, before they run away, grab them. Thank you and have a wonderful journey. Oh, okay. Can we quickly take a group picture? Can you get the photographer? Thank you all. For everyone in the foyer, please come. Let's have a quick group photo if you are in the room. And thank you to our online audience. Thank you so much. We love you. Thank you for your comments. For the ones we have not addressed, we hope that we will address it soon. Thank you.
Please, can we have all the ushers, everybody, please come inside. Everybody helping out, please come inside. This is very, very important. Yeah, you can come up the stage, please. But we need everyone. Sister Funke, please kindly call all the people there.
Yes. It's too wide. Go on the stage. Crew as well. If the live stream is off, it will be good for you guys to join us.